Good job. You already know what it is, man. It's just T Paris, aka the Young Marvin Gaye. This rap shit, most original, most creative, most in tune with the times. And I'm sort of like your inspiration. And this is P's Perspective, the recap. But let's not waste no time. Let's get right into it. This week our topic discussion was: are the public schools really just a gateway to the prison system? Now, I thought this was a dope topic. We got a lot of feedback. In fact, I want to say this might be the most feedback that we got on any topic discussion that we had thus far. So I just want y'all to give yourselves a round of applause. Let y'all know I appreciate everybody who's been getting involved. My second order of business, I just want to give a shout out to Kenneth Bazemore. You know, some of y'all know him as CJ. Me and CJ been on the phone, every once in a while, just chopping it up and, talking about different things in our community that we think that will be good discussions, for the round table. And this was one of the things that we had chopped it up about. I didn't give, Mr. Bazemore his proper credit the first time. And I called him and let him know, I should have tagged you. I should have let them know that this is something that we had spoken about. And he just reassured me, man, it's not my information. It's coming from God. We out here we building, brother. And we taking our time to sit down with each other and talk about things that are important in our lives. And it just so happened this is one of the topics. But I just want to add on and tell them, I appreciate it because, sometimes we need people that we could sit down and we could talk to about things that's not so trivial, like, who won the basketball game last night, what's the latest dance out there. We talking about issues that plague our community every day. And it just make me feel good to know that when I sit down with you, we always got something positive to build upon. So toast to the town, brother, and I appreciate that. Moving right along, we get right into the discussion. Last week we just talked about our young youth going to schools and the information they being taught, how they're being prepared for the real world, how to go out into the job world and secure good employment for themselves, take care of their family. And it's my opinion that these public schools are not preparing our children for these situations. And I gave a couple examples, but one of the more prominent examples is just the information that's in these textbooks. When I was a child, I remember learning about some of this stuff, and when I speak to my daughter now, I see that they're still talking about the same things. They're still spreading the same lies, and I think it affects us in a great deal because when we get out into the real world, and it's time to deal with people and deal with real situations, a lot of us are not prepared to deal with these situations based upon the knowledge that we've obtained over the years. I went to private school. I went to a boarding school. When I was away in school, I mentioned how I used to be able to have a little bit of insight on some of the things we learned about in class. Some of the classes were a lot smaller. The teacher wasn't responsible for trying to keep 35 students under control at one time. There was no special ed. They wasn't trying to give us any type of medication to calm us down, ADHD and things of that nature. And so when I think about the public school system, I have to ask myself, what is the ultimate goal of the system? What are they ultimately trying to do? And it's my opinion that they would like to have everybody, act a certain way, carry themselves a certain way, have a certain amount of knowledge, so that when you go into this workforce, they give you jobs that they've already created for us. They want you to fit into this box. And when you don't fit into this box, you're deemed, unable to be taught, a menace to society in some ways, a disruption. And sometimes they exile you, they'll feed you a crime and they'll put you in jail and lock you up, And that's the way that they want to deal with these issues. They don't want to take the time and focus on issues individually, And we talking about these kids and we talking about the school, I'm wondering why people aren't challenging the system about the curriculum. In some of the comments, some of the educators, they seem like they was offended. And I just want to let you know, these are my opinions, I'm not trying to rub anybody's feathers the wrong way or make anybody feel uncomfortable. But, as a parent, as a former educator, and just as somebody who is very, very prevalent in the lives of the people within my community, this is something that I care about. When I send my child to school, I would like to know that the information she's being taught is not only true, but it's something that's going to help her out along the lines as she continues, with growing and, becoming just a better person altogether. Some of the comments, let me know it's not the teacher's job. It should start at home. And I agree. Education does start at home. But it's my opinion that a lot of people who use that as their the basis for their response are people who grew in households where it was two parents, or maybe, one parent, but that one parent was very structured. My plight is to speak in favor and advocate for those who grew up much like myself in dysfunction, didn't have their parents around. A lot of hardships based upon drugs, violence, neglect, all different types of abuse. And it's so many kids growing up in these type of households that I find it almost impossible to just omit their feelings and what they're dealing with. Some of these teachers, they just don't relate to these kids. And I'm not saying you got to be able to come from a household where they came from, but you got to think, when a child wakes up in the morning and they not having that breakfast, and they don't have that soap, and they're not able to take a bath, but their parents is rushing them out the house and they got to go to school. That's something that's on that child's mind. They might not really be in the mood to sit down and focus on your lesson plan. They worried about getting teased and picked on all day. And that's just something that I think that we should take into consideration, man. Stop thinking that everybody had a lifestyle where it was a silver spoon granted to them, because many of us didn't. If I could just get into some of these comments, because it was so many comments, and I want to let y'all know I might not be able to shout everybody out and give everybody comment, but I tried to grab as many as I could, and just to let people know, man, I really, really appreciate what we got going on here, man. When I got off the internet and I chopped it up with a few of my friends, some college alumni, some of my friends in the community, and the dialogue kept going, and it was great. One thing that it kept coming back to me is like, as an educator, you don't understand how difficult it is when we in this position, because we agree with what you're saying, but sometimes we feel like we trying hard, but it's not so much that we could do. And I'm gonna touch on a solution about that as well. But like I said, let's get into some of these comments and show some love. Our first comment comes from Jaquetta Gilchrist Champagne White say, "Wow, all the topics you have done are powerful, but this one right here is very powerful. It hits everyone in some way or another. Not only does it have a great message, it has great solutions. This is a video that should be in all schools for teachers, parents, and students. They need to hear it. I'm going to make a copy of it if that's okay with you, and let the teachers at the school, our volunteers, see and hear when I say that it's powerful, that this message is key to the parents. I want to say thank you, Mama White. I appreciate you always chiming in and always, asking, can you share this information? That's important to me as well, because you letting me know that you want people all over the world to get a chance to communicate with us and the topics that we discussing at this round table. So thank you. I love you. Toast to the channel. Have a blessed day, Mom. Our next comment comes from Jason Tirado. He said, "I can't wait to watch this one on my break. This is so real. Your description says it all." I appreciate that, man. You at work and you taking time out your day. You said your lunch break just to watch P's perspective. That let me know that, we doing our job. We hitting home and we reaching people in all walks of life, Toast to the town to you, brother. Have a blessed day. Our next comment comes from Antoine Walker. Antoine is somebody I went to school with, one of my college buddies. He's also an educator. He's a dean. He's a teacher. And I know that he's personally doing a lot of positive things for these young kids. And I thought that when me and Antoine, were chopping it up, going back and forth on the internet, it was a little bit of gray area, because I may have misconstrued one of his statements. But like I said, I know this is a good friend of mine, and it's never personal. After we got off the net, me and him chopped it up, face to face, and we had a real dope discussion. So I want to share his comment and just say, yo, thank you, man. And I know it's hard. I know the job you're doing is difficult. I'm only here to continue to challenge people and make sure that we get the best out of this opportunity, because you and myself, as young men, when we was away in school, we talked about these issues all the time, brother. And this is something that, we always said that we would be here for the community for. And I'm just proud to say that we kept our word, man. Antoine went on to say, this is a good topic, but it will require more than just a post. There are too many dynamics to come into play. I will summarize my perspective in short. From the time of inception, parents play a major role in the education of their children. It starts at home. And again, like I said, I agree, it do start at home, but I just can't, forget about those kids that grow without their mom or their father or both, And it's important. Education is key for everybody, you know what I'm saying? And so if you at home and you don't have that guidance, you don't have those mentors, you don't have those people on your shoulders to help you to understand how important a good education is, and you might fall by the wayside. And that's the whole purpose of this discussion, so that we remember not to leave those children behind that weren't fortunate enough to grow up in a household where they had everybody there. Yo, toast to the town, Sean. Thank you for your comment. The next comment comes from Elijah Davis, Master Chap. This may old news to some of you, but the results, the stats in the third grade test results usually determine the building of prisons. This curriculum deliverance opens the door of failure. Nowadays, depending upon the neighborhood or culture, no disrespect intended, also determines whether he or she helped at home or enhanced what the child has learned in school. I want to say I appreciate your insight, Chop. You know, we call him Master Chop. Got his master's degree, always dropping fruits and vegetables. And what I really appreciate is that, you know, it's one of my mentors, it's one of my close friends, Pops. And he's still involved in, you know, the discussions that we have when we're in the community, always willing to talk to us. And what I really like is, because he's been here before us, he's not afraid to lend the insight on how things may have changed. Now, you see in his comment, you know what I'm saying, he said this might be old news to some, but the curriculum, you know what I'm saying, deliverance opens the door to failure. And now, if this is something that he said, and he's a couple generations, you know, ahead of us, and this is something that I'm saying now, I need y'all to take notice to what's going on. I want y'all to be aware that sometimes when things change, they really don't change. But looking for the comment, Mr. Davis. Our next comment comes from Verse Al Cap. He said, I just had to talk to a parent about teachers personalizing the student corrector on a fact about African author that the child was suspended. Long story short, prisons make so much money that it's the #1 agenda. And if I could just add on, you know, my point that I was trying to say is, if you don't get an education and they don't prepare you for this world out here, you know, you no longer have an option. Now it's an ultimatum, and the ultimatum is get that money the best way that you know how. It's unfortunate, but a lot of us growing up in the inner city, all we know is what's going on out there in the streets. And that's a setup, you know. All it's going to do is lead you to a grave, or it's going to lead you to prison, you know. And that's what I mean when I say that the school system is a gateway to the prison system. Because if we don't learn properly the way that we are supposed to excel out here, then once you get out here in the real world, then you're going to be lost. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of times they're not giving breaks. They're not giving chances. These young men getting caught out here selling drugs and getting thrown football numbers. First time offense too. So I want y'all to take that into consideration, you know. You either have ultimatums or you have options, you know. Education should afford everybody some options. Our next comment comes from Hyatt Missing Charge Watts. He said, I feel this is the case with public schools in the inner city nationally. The kids are regarded as future accountants, if you will, for the prison corporation. I think the only way to combat this is bring the village back. I like the analogy that she said. She said the kids are regarded as future accountants, and basically saying that these kids are looked at as property that could be owned later on in life. You know, if we're not doing what we got to do with our children, they got a place where they'll send our children, and they getting paid for it. They getting paid a decent amount of money, anywhere from $31,000 to $64,000 a year to house an inmate in New York City. Think about that for a second. If you don't want to go to school and get an education and take care of yourself, they got a place for you where they get paid $31,000 to $64,000. You get 3 hots in a cot though. Our next comment comes from Tabora Bryant. Another person I went away to school with. Definitely appreciate your insight and your comment. She's working, you know, doing positive things for the kids and the churches in her community as well. So I thought this was dope that she chimed in and gave some insight. She said, T, you right. And I thought about that as I typed. What about the kids whose home life are in shambles? I would hope that there will be one adult, whether it be a mentor, teacher, neighbor, parent, or friend, who would care enough to make a positive deposit in that child's life. It's the village mindset that we have to get back to, like someone said earlier. It's up to those of us who have been afforded decent educations, who are sincerely in love with our children, and those who have something positive to offer, to do what we can do in any small or large way to make a difference in these children's lives. And I agree, you know. Everybody keep mentioning it take a village, right? Well, I want y'all to be aware that these schools, these stores, these after-school programs that are in our community, they are a part of the village. If you are a teacher, you are a paid educator. It is your job to help teach these kids how to learn, teach these kids how to go out into the workforce and secure employment, teach these kids critical thinking. That's the job that you were selected for and you get paid to do. At the end of the day, you're going to get your check. But can you guarantee that this child is going to get a diploma? That's what I'm in it for. You understand what I'm saying? When I'm out here talking to these kids, my thing is to make sure that I leave them with something positive that will help them out later on in life. And I'm not saying that the educators are not doing that, but some of them aren't. You know that this stuff that is in these textbooks are lies, rash lies. It's not cool, man. It's not cool. Our next comment comes from Anne Lamont Hume. She said, education isn't just about what happens in the classroom. It's about life experiences, environment, etc. Children benefit from various activities, sports, performing arts, fine arts, etc. Parental involvement also plays an integral part of a child's success. We need a holistic approach. Unfortunately, some families don't have the support system in place and as a result are unable to provide access and exposure for these children. Again, I agree, and I feel what everybody's saying when they say it starts at home, you know, but one thing that Ann mentioned that I liked, she said the environment, various activities, sports, performing arts, fine arts, all of these things are important, you know. In some of these schools, these activities are not available, and that's unfortunate. You know, through sports, kids learn more. They learn morals, they learn principles, they learn values about life, they learn teamwork. You understand? They learn about what it is to win. They understand from playing sports what it takes to win. You understand? They understand what it takes to lose and how to lose and still learn from the losing. That's why it's so important to have these opportunities for these kids, not only in the community, but also in school. They need to have these things in school. A lot of kids go to school for 7 hours a day. But if you factor in after school programs, community programs where they might, you know, do after school work, or they might play basketball, or they might do art or dance or whatever it might be. You add on another hour, 45 minutes, that's more time in the classroom than you spending at home with your parent, than you spending sleep or anything else. So I don't want to hear the excuse of it should happen at home when you spending most of the time with the child. That's something that you should also be responsible for because you are a part of this community and part of this village. Our next comment came from Karim Shaka Zulu McFarlane. He's also an educator, non-for-profit business owner as well. He said, well, I would like to add this. The true educator is the media. So until we own some educational outlets, the media system will remain. So the key to good education is ownership. Agreed. We do have to start learning how to take care of ourselves and spend money within the confines of our own community, the businesses that support us, as well as, you know what I'm saying, learning how to own businesses, you know, run and start your own corporations. However, in order to get there, we have to learn how to do so, and this happens in school. This happens in school. So I'm asking the educators, you know, please dig deep inside yourself and think about it. You know, not every single one of these kids is going to graduate with honors and go on to the best college in the world. You know what I'm saying? Try to do your best to reach one of these kids and try to find something else that's sharp, that's bright, you know, that stands out in this child's life, other than just focusing on these test scores and trying to tell them they got to be the smartest person in the class if they want to succeed in this world. It's so much more to life than just the education. Experience, you know what I'm saying, counts as a lot. And I'm not saying don't get an education. Of course, focus on your education. But there's so much more that we have to teach these kids when they're in these schools. We have to teach them about surviving. And I don't mean physically surviving. I mean in critical thinking, learning how to take time and step back and look at a situation and say, you know what, this might not be beneficial for me, and so I'm not going to get involved. My next comment comes from Akuze Simmons. Shout out to Akuze. He had a lot of comments. One of his comments, he said, give the kids a fighting chance to be great, yet the love comes into play when you let them define greatness through a multitude of true leaders who reach certain heights. They can all super succeed. And I agree with that, man. We got to let these kids learn about various people, not just people that's in these textbooks that y'all deem important, but some people that they can relate to, you know, people that they could look to and say, you know what, that reminds me of myself. My next comment comes from China Sidnor. She says, sadly, this is an isolated case with New York City public schools nationally as a whole. The public sector for education is coming up short and it needs reinforcement. I agree with you. I want to say thank you for the comment. I got to try to wrap it up because we closing in on 20 minutes. Our last comment comes from DJ Jalisi's Boy. Said the system in America, in my opinion, is extremely prejudiced to the black community unless you serve the purpose of extending the same agenda. T. Paris, he said this is a very informative video and extremely well spoken. I want to say thank you. You know, he reaching in from across the seas, so you know that's always important when you're sharing the information with people all over the world. In closing, you know, like I said, because we're closing on 20 minutes, I just want to say two things. One, when we having these discussions, I would like to please, let's just keep it about the topic, because we had one thread that went so far in depth about so many other things that it made it difficult to follow some people's opinions as to whether or not they believe that the school is a gateway to prison. And in closing, I want to leave y'all with this message. We have these discussions not to fight, not to put people down, not to single people out. We do it just to intrigue those people who like to have these type of discussions, so that in our community we can focus on more than just the everyday trivial things that we talk about. When I say that I believe that the prison is a gateway, that the schools are a gateway to the prison system, basically what I'm saying is that the school systems are not preparing our children for the real world. We as parents do have to do better, but if you are an educator, I'm asking you to also do better. These children are our future. You too were once a child, and it's very important to remember a lot of these parents had the same issue when they were growing up. They didn't learn this information, and so when they open these textbooks and talk to these kids about what's going on, sometimes they too are lost, and that's where they're having the disconnect at, because they also don't know this information. When you talk about this core math thing that they doing, when I sit down with my daughter, man, sometimes I find myself confused, but I push myself because I don't want my child to be left behind. I don't want my child to be stuck in a world where she can't succeed because her parent didn't know the information and I didn't take the time to learn it so I could teach it to her. But I just ask the people who are professional educators and you're getting paid to do this job, I'm just asking that you look inside your heart and think about these children. They are our future. And this is T. Paris, Peace Perspective, man. Toast to 10. Peace.